Hey, good morning, everybody. It's the Diane in the Morning Show here on the Home Business Radio Network, and I am super excited, absolutely giddy beyond belief, because I'm here with one of my good friends and somebody that just anytime I get together with this guy, not only do we have a good time, but we really have some discussions that, quite frankly, I want you guys to be able to be a part of. I want you to see what goes on behind, on closed phone lines, so to speak, and enjoy some real picking apart of the home business industry. So today I have on the line my good friend John Milton Fogg. John, are you there?
Yeah. What time is it, Diane?
It's morning time. It's time to wake up, John. I wake up my listeners. I guess I'm going to have to wake you up, too. How you doing, my friend?
You got to wake up your guest. Oh, man. I'm great.
Are you wearing cute pajamas at least? I mean, at least, do we...
I spend my day in pajama-like attire.
That's too hot.
It's according to my thermometer. I've got one of those Oregon Scientific little weather station with satellite thermometers.
How geeky of you.
So this is, I'm looking at 90.7. That's in the sun on the far porch. So it's about time that I put the turtlenecks away, and it pretty much goes turtlenecks, short-sleeve polo-type shirts, and tank tops, and it's all about how hot it is outside. And I switch from, I've got these exercise pants. They're loose. They're called California Crazy Wear bodybuilders, which I am not, although I have built my body. A little too much.
Well, thank you for the full fashion report.
There it is, I mean, do the video, honey. It's really good.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm glad to hear it's that warm down there. Wow, it's nice up here, but it's really warm down there. Well, awesome. Listen, guys, if you're not familiar with the illustrious Mr. Fogg, I want you guys to go check him out. John, tell them where your site is and where they can find you.
Oh, gosh. Favorite site at the moment is The Greatest Networkers, with an S on the end, networkers.com. That's the latest book, project, audios, this whole pile of stuff, and it's where I'm putting most all of my attention, Diane.
Excellent. So it's The Greatest Networkers, plural.com, and I'm glad you brought up that site and that project, John, because that's what I want to talk to you about today. Guys, people have referred to John as the Napoleon Hill of network marketing. This is a man who has been chronicling this industry and all the top earners for many years now. And if there's anybody that knows what are the common denominators among top producers, what are the common things that we can find amongst the people that go all the way, it would be this guy. He's met them all. He's interviewed them all. He's hung out with them all. He's had dinner with them all. And he knows this industry inside out. And he's been a great, just a wonderful, I'm so glad I've gotten to know him. John, I want to share a quick story because, guys, when I started my home business, 1999, I'm a broke, scared housewife. I don't know, my blank from my elbow as far as network marketing is concerned. And John was one of the first people I found when I started to do my research, and that's what I encourage you guys to do. I went down to the bookstore. You can go down to the library, and I started books on this industry, and I found John, found his website, started listening to his calls, and he had a very, very, very big impact on my career. So the idea that I get to hang with him and talk about his pajamas, I think is, the ultimate dream. Think about it. If you had said to me 10 years ago, hey, you'll be hanging out with Fogg on a call, doing a Diane in the morning. First of all, the idea that I have a Diane in the morning show to start with is insane. And then if you told me I'd be hanging out with Fogg talking about what kind of pajamas he wears, I'd be blown away. So, John, what I want to do is, first of all, let's get into the new project. What made you decide, you wrote the book, The Greatest Networker, singular in the world, which is, guys, if you have not read that book, you need to read it. I've probably read it 20, 30 times, literally, and then also the sequel. But John decided recently to go and find the greatest networkers. And what made you start the project? And just fill us in a little bit on it and what's been going on with it.
Well, the greatest networker is fiction. And it's very interesting. I was listening to NPR the other night, and there was a guy writing a book about writing books. And he pointed out that many of the famous to infamous characters of literature that we've known in history weren't necessarily real people in fictional books, but were based on them. One of his revelations was that The Godfather was actually based on Mario Puzo's mother. They just made him into a man. Mannerisms, authority figure, all of that kind of stuff. So in The Greatest Networker in the World, all of the profiles of the people and their personalities and many to most all of the events were actually something that happened somewhere. Different name, different place, and I just kind of morphed it into a network marketing fable, which is what the original book was titled. The Greatest Networker in the World, a Network Marketing Fable. Well, summer and a half ago, maybe more, seems like more, Richard Brooke, who's a good friend, my daughter Ellie, who'll be 10 real soon, her godfather. Richard and I have known each other 20-ish years. He sent me an email and said, hey, I've got a great project that only you could do, should do. I want you to create the Network Marketers Hall of Fame. I want you to interview 20 people, get their stories, and put that out there and have them pay you to write it and then go sell the books afterwards and have them commit to buying X amount of books. And Hall of Fame just ain't me, babe. I don't, I can't. Just like, when you said, it still rankles me, Diane, to this day when somebody says Napoleon Hill, the Napoleon Hill of network marketing. Putting myself on the same plane as Napoleon Hill is blasphemous. It's heresy. I mean, this man, great. I sold 2 million books. He sold 20. It's a whole different realm. This guy has changed the lives of, I don't know who's changed more lives in the whole realm of success, self-help, personal growth, and development than Dr. Hill. But when I looked at it truthfully, and I did need some help, like coaching help, from friends who said, John, don't be a jerk. What have you been doing for 25 years? You have been hanging out, networking the greatest networkers in the world. You made an issue out of, Richard Brooke was stuck in Oxyfresh, and I don't mean stuck in a pejorative sense, but he was hidden away in Oxyfresh.
No, I didn't know who he was until you, John. I'm interrupting you. I'm so rude. I didn't know who Richard Brooke was until you. I didn't know what Mach 3 was until you. So be clear that I interrupted you so rudely, but it just made me passionate.
Well, it's
what
part
an amazing
of my job.
man that you introduced to me, into my life. What an amazing piece of, studying and learning how to create movies in my mind. How much did it change my life because of that introduction virtually? I haven't really met Richard myself, but would like to.
It wasn't a strategy, Diane. It was just a genuine compulsion to discover these people. It was actually an outgrowth of what happened to me when I first got involved in network marketing. I didn't know a darn thing about it. I looked around for books, and at that time it would have been, a cassette tape and stuff like that. Yep. I could get my fill of Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, but network marketing, there was nothing. And then there was Don Fala's Napkin Presentations, and then there was Randy Ward winning the greatest game of all. Remember, this is 25 years ago. And so when I first got into network marketing, I was a marketer, I was a copywriter in a natural and health food company, and I got in with a company called Celltech, Super Blue Green Algae, which I rudely refer to as primordial pond scum just because I think it's fun. And, I went off looking for information for my customers and for my downline people. And the first week in the business, I wrote a newsletter. And the second week, I wrote 2. And the third week, I wrote 3 by contacting various men and women networking. Who do you know it's in network marketing? How well are they doing? Studying them, blah, 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 all that stuff. So really, that started my career. And very early on, Diane, I made a decision that I was more useful and valuable in service to the entire network marketing community as a writer, because that's something I could do that not everybody could do. Most everybody could, with the right teaching and the right guidance, be a successful network marketer. But writing about it was different. And so that's what started the whole deal. And I just, when I created Upline, which in the very beginning was called MLM Success.
I didn't know that.
Success Magazine came after us gently, ever so gently, with a very big, what do they call them, trihedron hooks, 3-part hook stuck in the middle of the roast beef that they threw at us. And they said, and so here I am in North Carolina, a real rube, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'd been the marketing director of a natural and health food company where the oldest person was the president, and he was 34, like that, back in the 80s, and 70s and 80s. So these guys were from New York, and they were publishers, and they scared the snot out of me. And then they said something. They said, our legal people have a problem with this success business, MLM Success. You see, we have a lot of blah, 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 into success and success, blah, blah, success. All right. Well, we'll license it to you for $1 a year. And I just saw all kinds of scary scenarios that could come out of that, which is we spend a year, we pour our heart and souls into it, we build a brand, we get a following, and they say, well, we changed our minds, tough noogies. So I went back to my 2 business partners, and I said, we got to change the name of this, and we got to change it right away, because New York sharks and lawyers are circling. An hour later, I called him up, and I said, it was Mr. Scott DeGarmo, who was the publisher and editor at the time. I said, hey, Scott, no problem with MLM Success. We changed the name to Upline.
No worries. We're all good. Thanks. Wow.
Yeah, and there was dead silence on the other end of the phone.
John, we're getting close to the halfway mark of the show. So what I want to do is let's take it from Upline was, the publication of the industry. When I came into the industry, I'm not sure whether Upline was still here or it was just, no, it had to be here because I have issues of it. I don't know whether they were back issues or current. And, as we move forward, Upline, you were interviewing and you had all this information about all these different people. Now we get into the greatest networkers. And you've taken, is it 20 or did we end up going with a couple more? How many
21.
people are in the book?
The subtitle of the book is 21 Ordinary People Who Became Millionaires in Network Marketing and the True Stories of How They Did It. And let me just add something to that because it tags onto this Napoleon Hill bit, and that is that not very far into the book, Diane, I realized 21 people weren't going to cut it.
Yep.
That there were literally thousands of men and women around this world who were deserving of the title, the greatest networkers in the world. People making $1 million, $2 million, more a year, career millionaires, people who every couple of years made $1 million, and most importantly were creating millionaires in their organizations. And so I took a look at that and thought, okay, well, there's going to be book 1 now, and then book 2, and if I have it in me, and I'm not sure I do, because this is hard work.
A lot of work.
Doing this is a ton, much more than I bargained for, much more. I interview these people for 45 minutes to an hour. Then I edit those audio interviews to make them clean and clear because we make transcripts out of them. We also, because in the book, each contributor gets 7 pages, 1,800, 1,900 words. The transcripts are 7,000 words, 10,000 words. There is so much stuff left on the cutting room store that we sell the interviews and the transcripts as well. And they're only for the really serious people,
they're
like
awesome.
you, people who are just,
they're awesome. They're awesome. I can't tell you how awesome they are, gang. Check out the site, find out about them. If you really want to get into the head, the book we read and we read again, and then you listen to them. And good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, and John, an outgrowth of that is a series I do called Conversations with the Greatest Networkers. Those come out twice a month, and we couldn't do nuts and bolts stuff in the book. I mean, it would come up. There are gems and gems and treasures in that book of how people did this or did that. But for drilling down into prospecting, leadership, partnership, building internationally, the role of women in the business, people building versus business building, I take these guys individually and gals, and I drill down in this other product called Conversations. The book, one of the things that's interesting about the book that I don't see anywhere else is most of the time when we hear a network marketer's story, we hear what we heard from you when you got on this program and started at some point early in this conversation. You said, I was an overweight, scared, yada yada single mom.
Yep.
That we always get that step just before the person came into network marketing. In the book, I go back to, where were you born? How'd you grow up? What was your family like? You know, it's fun to learn that Warren Nelson, who went on to become a Harvard MBA and has been at the top of 3 different network marketing companies in his 20-plus year career, was his real life was fired when he became a newspaper boy. And they asked him to go out for a contest. And here's what's fun about it. Here's the kind of insight you get. Warren kicked butt. He won the contest for the entire state of Wisconsin. They took him to meet the governor. They took him to a Milwaukee Braves game, you know, and they gave him a room full of presents, which is why he wanted to win the contest. His mom was a nurse, and this was back in their, you know, the missile crisis and the beginning of technology. And she said, you got to go into a scientific career. You got to go be an engineer. And he didn't want anything to do with it. But he went, and he did it. And he did it for years. And he rose up the ladder in corporate America until he finally couldn't stand it, because what he was a paper boy. That's what he was. He was a guy that could go and knock on a door and say, hey, I've got a great deal on the Sunday paper for you, and I'll bring it to you every morning. And so he got out of corporate America and into network marketing, which he was very suspicious of at first. Most all of them were. One thing to remember that this book tells you is at one point in time, none of these people had ever done network marketing before. They didn't know about it, and they all went on to become millionaires.
So therefore, somebody who's new that thinks, I don't know anything about this, that should not be a criterion for them to have doubt in their mind. Because myself and everybody, we didn't know what it was. That's huge. All of them.
Yeah, and the biggest message of the book, Diane, for me is, if we can do it, you can do it. After you read this, you see how very different 3 of these men, greatest networkers in the world, John Haremza, who's made over $12 million, Orion Saleh, Lord knows how much, $20 million, because he now runs his own company. Jordan Adler, over $2 million a year with send-out cards. All 3 are dyslexic. Now, I don't think that's a criteria for network marketing success, but it sure is interesting. John Haremza, when he was a little boy, overheard a conversation with his dad calling him stupid to a friend of his dad's. He crawled in the doghouse with his black lab and just cried his heart out. And $12 million in MLM? Whoa, mama.
What else have you found that's in common? You're finding these different correlations between people. You mentioned being a young entrepreneur, being a paper boy. Have you found other people that had that going on, that they had that little sales gene in them from the time they were a kid? Is that something?
Yeah, but not everybody.
Yep.
Randy Gage was terminally shy. Richard Brooke was terminally shy. A number of them were poor. Grew up poor, not knowing anything. Lynn Allen Johnson spent most of her life on food stamps and popped into network marketing at age 50. And it took Lynn 4 years to wake up to the fact that she had a business opportunity to offer. She was totally all about the products. Sven Goebel was a PhD candidate over in Germany. He and a fellow student of his go to a local opportunity meeting, and they find out there's a big one going on in Munich or Stuttgart. I can't remember where. A number of hours away, but next Saturday. So he and his friend jump in there, and they go to this meeting, and they're sitting there in their college student blue jeans, leather ties, borrowed jackets. And
leather ties.
And the people in the room, are wearing Armani. And then all of a sudden, the back door comes wide open like John Wayne walking into a saloon. And in comes this guy, smelling of cologne, with an alligator briefcase and alligator boots and a watch that weighs 4 pounds with diamonds all over it and a lime green suit. And he walks up on stage and he tells everybody how he's been in this business, started out as a waiter, college student, and he's made $7 million. And Sven looks at his buddy and says, wow, do you think we could do 1/10 of that? That's $700,000. His college buddy says, yes, we can. They signed up right then and there.
Wow.
Great stories. Great stuff.
It is a great story. Huh. Huh.
And
wow.
One of the things you asked for some commonalities.
Yeah.
Way up top has got to be personal growth and development.
Yes.
Not one of the 21 didn't spend a bunch of time talking about it. How you needed to study, how there was an apprenticeship, and the apprenticeship was about you. It was you learning to be a better you more than anything else. That was a major one. Another was how
John, before you go on, give me one more sentence on that, because I think that people, the listeners, guys, I want you to hear this. You hear it over and over and over, and you hear it from lots of people. You have to work harder on yourself than you do on your business. You have to work hard on you. You have to become more. And we hear it. But this is a man that sat with the top people. So he's not giving it to you from him. He's not saying, hey, I think you should do this. He's saying, this is all of them saying this. So I want you to take that, listeners, really strongly. John, how much did they emphasize it? I know you said they all did, but was this something that every single one of them, did you feel the passion in them when they talked about it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And when it wasn't being directly discussed as personal growth, which it was by so many of them, it was being indirectly discussed in terms of decisive moments. Jordan Adler, the first meeting outside of his area. Now, you got to know something about Jordan that's just killer. This guy was in 11 companies in his first 10 years and never sponsored one person.
No. Is that true?
One.
Oh, my gosh. Jordan Adler. Wow.
Oh, absolutely true. So he gets his first out-of-town meeting where people are calling him and saying, hey, we can get 40, 50 people here, come support us. He's working for an airline, so he's broke. So he transfers his airline, he uses his airline miles, and he uses his special status, for a free trip, and he just so happens to land in Peabody, Massachusetts, in a historic snowstorm. The drive from Logan Airport to Peabody is normally 20 minutes.
Yep.
It took him 2 hours plus. He gets to the home where the meeting is. It's dark. Nobody's there. He goes around, finds a 7-Eleven. At that time, there are no cell phones. It's in the middle of a freaking blizzard. And he's calling and leaving 4 or 5 messages on the phone because nobody's answering. He goes back, has just enough on his credit card to get a Motel 6 room for the night, climb back on the plane the next morning and go home. He never even met the guys or saw the guys. But that was a moment where he knew, as he had done so many times before, over and over and over again, 11 times in 10 years, this was a moment where normally Jordan would quit. But he didn't. He said, this time I'm sticking around. This time I'm going to stay the course. No excuses, willingness, choice, all personal growth, baby.
That's it. That's it. You know, John, we have a couple of minutes left, and I'm sitting here speechless because that stuff, it moves me so much. And listeners, that's why I can't encourage you enough to go over to the Greatest Networkers. Is it .com? I'm sorry, .com. And it is, right? I'm sorry, I'm just so moved by the story. I'm like out of my mind because this stuff turns me on. Guys, you have to go get your hands on these stories because it's like right now, I want to hang up on John right now. I have to finish the show. I want to hang up and go to work because that turns me on. And it's this stuff.
Here's the bottom line, Diane, and it's absolute, pure, positive sales. But please don't lose the power of the truth in this remark. Would you like to learn in hours what it took them years to learn, them being the greatest networkers in the world? And you can do that. Read the book, listen to conversations, keep doing it again and again until it becomes part of you. And what will happen is you will have programmed yourself so that when you are in this, you know, you don't have to be in the snowstorm. You could be standing someplace else in a much warmer climate, but you remember what happened with Jordan or how Richard drove through an ice storm and signed up a guy who made him $150,000 that after 3 years of struggling and getting nowhere. You begin to think like Donna Johnson and Randy Gage, Donna Impson. You draw on their experiences as if they're your own because you've made them your own.
John,
the hidden part of you, the subconscious mind, can't tell the difference.
That's it, and you become it. You become it. John, you promised me now in public that you'll come back another day. I have so much more to ask you. He's like,
I promise you now in public I will come back another day.
Well, you'll come back to do the show another day. We got so much more, and we're out of time.
All right, love.
All right. Hey, guys, it's been Diane in the Morning with John Milton Fogg. Go over to thegreatestnetworkers.com, get the stuff, and we will see you on the next Diane in the Morning show.